In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Welcome to In the Tunnel. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Sean.
And today it's May 22nd. We're talking conference finals for both the NHL and the NBA. Sean, how have you been?
All right. I don't know, still haven't watched much of the NBA finals, but I don't think I've been missing too much.
Nope. I mean, neither have I, but I did a little math that we'll get into later in the show, and I can guarantee you you've not really missed anything. What's been new in New Jersey?
Not much, just work, gym, sleep. What about you in Wilmington?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Sean, and I'm so glad you asked, because this being the sports talk podcast that it is, let me tell you about the kickball league that I'm in. Which happens to only have 4 teams, and I am probably one of the top 2 players on the worst kickball team possibly ever known to man. We are 0-4. We've given up probably 80 runs in 4 games. We play on an elementary school softball field in which we've given up probably like 2 inside the park home runs per game. We've lost all 4 games, and they stopped keeping score because one of the mercy rules is 15-run margin after 5 innings, and they're only 7-inning games. So really, we have yet to make it to the 7th inning underneath 15 runs or more. So yeah, it sucks because our 4th game looked really optimistic. Like, the score was 4-2. We in the 2nd inning had some good knocks, and then it just absolutely got shit on. It just absolutely sucks. We may have the most incompetent team ever. Like, the girl who played center field last week, she was like, "Oh, it's easier to keep the ball in front of you if you play back," and it's like, yeah, but if you can't make a play on the ball to catch it, then we're going to be out here for 28 minutes. And she can't catch, never tries to, and when she did get the ball in her hand, she throws with 2 hands over her head, and it would go 10 yards in the outfield. So
Good job. You have a great team.
Yeah,
you should be really proud.
Look, I was a quote unquote free agent in this league, so I was just assigned to a random team. And I'm not saying that I'm a mistake for either, because I was playing left field and I was trying to get the ball in so much I shanked a punt in from the left field and ended up it went sideways. But that was my only error. But everything else is
that's a pretty bad error.
I guess they were already on third base, rounding to go home for the inside the park home run. It's not like I was getting it in anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna punt it.
All right, I guess
show off the boomstick.
Well, I'm pretty sure this explains why you don't play in a professional sports league.
Yeah, that's why. Not despite the fact that I have no equipment and no motivation to really get CTE or anything.
True.
But, yeah, I mean, our team just sucks. But it's fun. It'd just be more fun if I don't know we were winning.
Isn't everything more fun when you win? If you're competitive, at least.
In theory, yeah, but we're allowed to drink while the games go on, which is weird because, like I said, the games are at an elementary school. But I guess they pay dues on the field, and as long as you clean up after yourself, you're allowed to drink. And alcohol does not help our performance at all.
I don't think alcohol is supposed to help your performance.
Well, I guess he could be more loose, and like I don't know, when you're more loose, he could probably catch the like 3 feet wide, 3 foot like ball. It's not like a a basketball sized kickball. It's like double that. It is like more bounce to it, harder to catch, but like man, like we have a 30-some-year-old dude playing shortstop. It was just like, oh, I'm gonna let it bounce in front of me. Like he was playing double play balls, and there was nobody on base.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So our inability to, I don't know, get off the field. Like we've got more bug bites than runs,
Good for you
for
and your
sure.
team.
Yeah. Balls to the wall for life, or at least until this pitiful season and display is over. So that's what I got. Work is better than that. Yeah, gonna be working the next 11 straight days because I am that moron who's like, oh well, overtime pay, and then I realize, well, I'm no Memorial Day weekend for me at all. So yeah, that's what I signed up for. I'm slipping, Sean.
We can
Slipping
see
in a good
that.
way.
I'm pretty sure
Slipping
the people at the other end of our conversation can hear this.
This is like the slipping that I was going through right after the Penguins lost. Like this is like
I'm pretty sure it
no
was worse.
no. Well, I mean, grain of salt shit, because like ever since last year, I was like, a repeat is hard. And now it's like, oh, a three-peat is hard. So, I always kept in the back of my mind, like, you got to know that, like, a three-peat probably is unobtainable. So, like, it wasn't so hard for me to accept, like, oh, we couldn't get three straight. I was more bummed out about it being to the Capitals that we lost to than it was that the Penguins, lost the series.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going on in Wilmington, and we are recording the Monday night of May 21st. Watching this Capitals Lightning game in the background, and it's just a sloppy game so far. You'd think that was my kickball team playing on ice.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, it depends which team my kickball team is, because then the other team would have probably scored like 17 by now.
And I don't see that happening in this game.
Well, not if they keep fighting each other.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, we're here to talk hockey and not the miserable existence that is the kickball league I'm in. So Washington and
Well, why don't we kick
Tampa
things
Bay.
off with Jets Golden Knights, since it is the only confirmed series done as of this point.
Sure. Let's start West Coast.
Yeah, so
First of all, Sean doesn't like to admit that a 4-1 series win is what's commonly known as the gentleman's sweep.
I just think that is dumb to call it a gentleman's sweep. Like, why?
Well, a true gentleman gives the other team at least one.
But does it look like the Knights gave the Jets one?
I mean, it depends on who you talk to.
The correct answer is no.
Okay, but if Tampa wins tonight, would you call the 4-2 series win the Southern Gentleman's Sweep?
No.
Well, a Southern Gentleman's Sweep is a 4-2 series win.
What is this? Why are you pulling out random words?
Because I'm a fan of sports media, Sean, and apparently I'm alone in that.
And sports media is all about random names for series.
I mean, since when has it not been?
True.
I mean, what you think that the GOAT saying just came out of nowhere? Well, actually, it probably did, but like we stuck with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, where the heck did gentleman's sweep come out of?
Well, I was listening to a Barstool podcast, but it was on Urban Dictionary for a few years now. So I mean, there you go. Like that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, whatever. So anyway,
Fine,
the
fine. Don't be a
Golden
Southern
Knights
gentleman.
completed the gentleman's sweep of the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. King of the throne.
So what you think of the series as a whole?
I think that Flurry surprised me. Like I thought he was his last round. He was getting a little iffy, but he just. I thought maybe it was like slowly declining, and as series went on, he was just slipping more a little more. But nope, he just came straight back into flower, into vintage flower, and man, he was the absolute MVP in my mind. Like just diving at pucks
He is
from
the
all
MVP
angles.
of the Golden Knights to this point in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, and for me, in terms of the Jeremy Escovitz MVP for this series pertaining to, it's a very select demographic of who's a candidate, but yeah, it's Flurry.
I mean,
It's
I
Flurry.
don't think there
It's
is another
it's
candidate.
Flurry. Oh, yeah, I mean that's true. I mean Marshall has been playing pretty good this whole playoff run. William Carlson's been doing pretty well, but like nothing to the level of Flower.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, though, to be fair, like, the Jets did keep, like, every game in the series close. Like,
They did. I thought that the Jets were going to get more than one game.
I thought they would win game 5 at home.
Yeah, that one was a surprise to me because like I was watching the highlights back and I'm thinking like the way that that Vegas was playing, and then I saw like oh the Jets are in blue, they're the home team, and that surprised me even more is for them to not be able to put up the numbers that they did and score as many goals as they normally have at home just speaks to how well that Flurry's been playing.
Yeah, but, I mean, game 5, they put up a great fight. It just
Oh yeah, they
wasn't
did,
enough.
but
And
like
against any other goalie, I think they would have won that game.
yeah. What about this series? Do you think they would have won the series against any other goalie?
I mean, if you're talking the whole series, then yes.
Okay, no, I was just curious because like
But, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't think, because I think they're only playing, like, they would have won game 5, and then they would have lost the series to Vegas anyway. That
oh yeah,
that was my feeling going into it, but I really did think they could pull game 5 as a win at home, then probably
I
lose
mean
game 6 on the road.
Vegas has only lost 3 games in the postseason, so like to say that they were going to lose back to back games was a stretch by any means. So like you can't say like and especially with Game 6 in Vegas, if it got to that point, it was going to be an extremely steep uphill battle for the Jets at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying that I thought they could, I don't know, get around Flurry enough to pull out a win at home for game 5.
I mean, Game 6.
5 because they didn't get to
Oh, right,
6.
right, right. Right, right. Game 5, Game 6, same thing. One didn't happen, so, transitive properties.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the series was a great one overall. Like the first 2 games had or the first 3 games had a 2-goal differential. The last 2 games
Yeah,
were
it was
really
probably the
close,
most.
and to the end, really, they were really exciting to watch the highlights of because I couldn't stay up and watch it. Yeah, so the series, like, the highlights, they looked great, and I really wish I could have seen that series, but have to do what the West Coast has to do.
Yeah, the games weren't starting that late, but, like, And kudos to like the hockey YouTube channels. They give us like 10-minute long highlight videos. And for a sport that a lot of people would say like, oh, how can you put that much time into it? It's such a low scoring game. But it allows you to kind of gain what the energy was like and what things like momentum, and like it makes you feel like you did watch bits and pieces of the game. So kudos to the people who put the work in to make that happen. It's like, I think at most when I'm looking for YouTube videos of these games, I'm looking for like a 5-minute video. Because like a 2-minute video is like, oh, you're just going to show who scored maybe a good save. And I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm too into hockey to do it to that.
Yeah, I want to see how the game flows and the real like shifts.
The chances too, like the chances that didn't result in like amazing saves.
Yeah, but they shifted how the game was flowing.
The odd man rushes. Yeah,
and those are important to us, especially.
Yeah, exactly. It tells a story.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It tells a story, and that's why hockey highlights, for anyone who listens, hockey highlights make for great bedtime stories. It's almost like Goodnight Moon. Almost. Not quite, but almost. But anyway, getting back into the hockey talk, I mean, it's just like, what do you think? Did the Jets get a lot of those opportunities that they got in the other series like they did against Nashville? Or was it kind of like defensively Vegas shut them down a little bit more?
I think they got the opportunities. I do think they got the opportunities. I mean, not necessarily that they were like the cleanest opportunities, but you can't really expect that in the playoffs. But they had great chances that, I mean, Fleury just was there or made this amazing save.
Right. I mean, like I said, not having watched the games fully, I didn't want to like give Fleury all the credit in the world if like he was only stopping 18 shots a game or something like that. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not.
No, they had like good 30 shots in a couple of those games, 30 some.
Yeah, and this is why we say that Fleury is like the MVP candidate, far in front in comparison to others in the playoffs. I did a little research. It's like game 1, I don't remember how many he gave up. That was the game in the series that Winnipeg won. I think it was 4, but
yeah, he gave up 4.
In games 2 through 5, he gave up all of 6 goals.
In games 2 through 5, he gave up
6. No, this one I know it's 6
total
goals.
Yep, that is correct.
So that, that's like, imagine, like, you only give up 6 goals in a playoff series, you'll win every series.
Yeah, but I mean, he gave up 10 technically.
How's that? Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like,
No, I agree with you. I mean, he played shutout.
That's what you need. Yeah, but like, that you need that kind of performance to win games. So I'm not saying like he was, the only reason why they won games, but like, or I'm not saying like he's the reason why they lost necessarily. But like those kind of performances is really hard to lose games like
Definitely, that. I agree. And I mean, but he didn't
go ahead.
Like the games they had some goals, right? But the last game they won 2-1, so it's not like he was getting tremendous offensive support. Like sure, the most goals they gave Fleury this series was 4. Game 3.
Yeah. Yeah. On the reverse side, you could say the same thing about Hellebuck. They didn't give him a lot of the support that they were giving him in other rounds. But what I really wanted to touch on was that, I may have forgotten it for a second, but like Game 5, for a neutral fan, like I know you said it's only a 2-1 game, but like that's like to the T your elimination game, like defensive struggle game that like a true hockey fan loves to watch.
Yeah,
So
but I
like,
mean,
kudos to that we got
if
that
you're
too.
if you're Bettman in the NHL, you want to see scoring because that's what brings fans to the game.
Yep, I mean, but you can also say that Vegas making it to the final is like does just that anyway because of the it expands the
Yeah, but
market.
if
So
they didn't,
for
if
this year it's they are doing what they
yeah,
needed to
but if
do
you
anyway.
look back on it, like they were given basically the above average player from every team or some absurd amount of
Yeah,
picks. So
because this year the difference between other expansion drafts is they they made it so that all the other teams couldn't protect
yeah,
as
so
many players.
I think that with the way the expansion draft went, if this team didn't at least attempt at making the playoffs to an extent, it would have been a failure for
Hmm.
Bettman.
Right, because like you never know if like these guys didn't mesh well and it just was an absolute train wreck. So there's always that to consider. But like from a paper
From a talent
perspective, like
perspective,
they
they
were
have. I mean, they don't have a star. Well, I mean, James Neal and Marc-Andre Fleury, but they don't have like a.
yeah, but like they're on the back end of their
Yeah,
career
but
too. It's not like they got guys in their
yeah, but
prime.
Fleury is still really good, and he's shown it. And even though Neal's
Oh
on the
yeah,
back end of his career, he's made it through the playoffs basically.
I mean I don't think the injuries were ever really a concern for Neil,
No, but
but
I mean, if you look at that roster that they had and all the picks they accrued to get that roster also, like I feel like barring some like complete meltdown,
meltdown in the locker
that
room.
team needed to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean for once we get some sports news this time of year that actually lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
Take a little shot at basketball. But yeah, because like I've had friends text me, it's amazing that Vegas did this in their first year. I was like, well, if you kind of look at the science behind it,
They
it
had a
really isn't.
stacked
Like,
expansion draft, man.
yeah, it's like they also benefited from the fact that like this wasn't like when a group of teams came into the league at one time, like in the '60s, or the original, or not the original six, but when you get two or more teams to join after, and the expansion draft is you're fighting against other teams for the same players too. This is like, you know, they really had the pick of whoever they wanted. I mean, a limited pool, but like, yeah, they benefited pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's just like my little pet peeve when somebody says, "Oh, I can't believe Vegas was like I can't believe Vegas is in the Stanley Cup." I mean, I can, but I'm surprised. But it's not to
Right.
say that I think they shouldn't have made the playoffs. They definitely with the roster that they acquired and the picks and all that, like everything they acquired for that with that roster, they at least needed to be in playoff contention, or the NHL would have thrown a fit with the amount of with what that expansion draft was worth to them.
Hmm.
Like Bettman had to make a
Yeah, and
statement as the first uh, national sport in Las Vegas, right? So if they didn't make the playoffs or do something like that, there's somebody's throwing a fit in the NHL HQ.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, lucky for Bettman that worked out. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Nice to see is like because for me now the Penguins are out. If I'm rooting for anybody, it's I don't know the team with the 2014 Penguins like England, Neil, Perron,
What, you
Fleury.
don't want
I
Ovechkin to
mean, I
get his
get.
first cup if that's ever possible?
I mean, it would take a whole lot of alcohol for me to say yes, but it's not going to happen like that.
We'll see.
I mean, they're down in their own series right
Yeah, I
now,
mean
so
it's going on, right? They're about to start the second, so Anyway, why don't we actually get to that series, huh?
Sure. Work a little transition here, huh?
So,
Uh,
I mean,
yeah. So, I mean, like, it looked pretty damn good for Washington to start out. Take 2 games from Tampa, and then now comes the easy part with games 3 and 4 at home, right? It's a pretty nice, easy
but they are
script.
Washington, remember?
Not hard to follow. And then what
They're
happens, right?
Washington. They went up 2-0 in a series. That's apparently the other thing that they can't do,
Yeah.
aside from getting out of the second round.
Yeah, I mean, when there's a will, there's a way, and well, I guess he didn't have to tell Tampa that. Cause
Yeah, but to be fair,
wow, what
the
happened to the
Capitals
Caps?
looked pretty solid games 1 and 2. And
Yep.
then it looks like they just fell apart at home, which is really weird. I mean, I don't think home field advantage plays as much as a factor as it did back like 10 years, 15 years,
Oh yeah, no,
but
no.
you shouldn't have this much of a difference in your own team being away and home. Especially when nobody has any
I mean,
expectations for you anyway. How are you performing so different?
yeah, like they've already exceeded expectations for
This was
themselves. Like
supposed to be the
they already
weakest
won their own
Caps
Stanley Cup.
lineup in the past like 5 years. Like nobody has any
Yeah, it's the
expectations.
one that didn't win the President's Trophy.
So I mean, they just haven't recovered. I mean, Game 5 was okay. I don't think
Yeah.
I think they
I mean, they didn't play horribly, but they gave up a chance off of a weird bounce early, and like when that happens, it just kind of like falters a little bit. It's hard for the goaltender to regain momentum off of like weird bounce
Yeah, I
goals,
mean, they fought back
and
though.
like
Like
and
they gave up
yeah, but like they gave up 2 in
they
the
gave
first
up two in
period.
the first period and they gave up one really quickly in the second. I think it was like 30 seconds in.
Yeah,
But to be fair, they did fight back. But I mean, you can't play like this and expect to win a series, let alone the cup, if you even get there.
I mean, look, if it's hard to win the cup in your first go at it too. So let's not forget that. So
I mean, at this point,
there was a.
aren't we going to have two teams in their first go at it, no matter what?
I mean, I'm just saying it's rare, or not rare, but uncommon. Like sometimes you need that experience of climbing the mountain before you can reach the
Fair
top of it.
enough. But
I
I'm
mean,
just like,
it,
what really draws this, like, paints the picture of this series is how different the Capitals looked away versus home, and not in the traditional sense. Like, traditionally a team looks even the slightest bit better at home, but the Capitals are looking
yeah,
worse.
Columbus, Pittsburgh, they've lost at home every
Yeah,
series
and you can't do that in the playoffs. Like, you
and
can I
survive.
mean, you can obviously drop a game here and there at home, but winning two on the
I'd
road,
say 2 losses. Yeah, 2 losses at
you
home is
need
not
to
good.
win one of your home games. Like, you did more than your job on the road. Now do your job at home, and they just can't do that, it looks like.
Yeah, and after going up 2-0 in the series, now to be down 3-2, you gotta
Facing
wonder if
elimination.
they flatlined. Yeah, if they're just flatlined and just playing a game that they can't win. Because like right now it's 0-0 in the second period, but like in terms of pressure, like, if Tampa starts getting pressure and opportunities, I don't think that Washington can recover. Like that's just a game that I don't feel like they're gonna get the same number back, and then Tampa's probably gonna win it in 6.
I mean, I I can see. I mean, this game has been really close in my opinion. Like, I don't see either of them really pushing ahead in momentum either way.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if it breaks out a little, so if something were to
Yeah, but
change.
I feel like with the way this game has gone so far, there's at least a chance because I don't see either team giving up like too bad or quick goals. Especially because this is like Washington's Game 7. It's you win or you're done for them right now. So
Yeah.
I see them at least attempting to put something bad that happens behind them really quickly.
Well, if they don't, they're screwed.
Yeah, but that's why I think that this game is more than just the first momentum shift.
Oh, no, I'm not saying the first momentum shift. I'm saying if it shifts and it sustains
Yeah,
itself.
but I mean, that's what you risk with every momentum shift, isn't it?
I guess. I'm saying, like, if Tampa just has a period that belongs to them and Washington can't get anything going for, like, the whole period, then it's over.
All right. I mean,
I
yeah.
mean, we'll find out. We'll find out. Is like two differing opinions here, and we'll see who's right. But not that it's a
I don't see a
competition,
full
but,
period
at least not for us. Well,
be going.
obviously,
I don't
yeah.
see the momentum of a full period going.
A little bit of an exaggeration, Sean. A little bit of an exaggeration. Look, there's only one puck out there. It's not like they're playing by themselves.
True. Yeah, but I mean, we'll see. Like this game is looking really good, and Washington just killed
From a
off a
defensive
power.
standpoint, yeah.
They just power killed
Power
off a
play.
power play. Yes, that is what I meant to say. So, I mean, we'll keep an eye as this game goes on, but it's really do or
Yeah.
die for Washington, and hopefully they're. I mean, they look like they're showing up, but they need to show up more than they did Game 5. They really need to return to their Game 1-2 form.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I could go either way on how it goes tonight, to be honest with you.
True.
I mean, not that I hate the Capitals or anything, but
And the other thing is,
completely
Washington is at home
unbiased.
because it's Game 6, right? So, I mean, just the fact that they're playing like this is something.
It's a very good
Because,
point,
I
Sean.
mean,
This is
if
something.
you look at games 3 and 4 to this game, right? The starts are completely different.
Yeah. No, you're
I
right.
mean, because Game 3, right? Like, Tampa had 3 goals to start the game, and I'm pretty sure Game 4 they had, or actually they didn't score first Game 4, but they took the lead in the first pretty shortly after.
Well, and this is just a thought that just popped into my head, but like Tampa, they've won both their playoff series coming into this one, 4-1 series. They beat Boston and New Jersey in 5 games apiece. So like they've kind of like held their own and not slipped up in games. Whereas Washington, well, it's
I
been a
mean,
different
can you
story.
really say they didn't slip
So
up in
like
games when they lost they lost game 1 4-2 and then lost game 2 6-2? Yeah.
Tampa, no, I'm saying
Oh.
before this series. I'm saying like they made the adjustments that they need to after their loss, and obviously this series has been a little bit different. And Washington had been playing at a confidence level that to start the series that like was just they were unfazed, but then they came home and now it's like we're starting to see the Washington that doesn't make the changes that they need to, and Tampa's played short series, and this is the longest series that they've been in so far. So I don't know. I feel like it's Tampa's to lose just because
I mean, I agree.
Washington's blown the past 3 games.
Yeah, true.
I'm sorry, not blown in a sense that they gave away the games, but like they didn't capitalize on the opportunities to increase or take back a series
Yeah,
lead.
I mean, I agree, but this game, it looks like it's going to go either way, and just from even the first like 5 6 minutes of the second period. So
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing how it plays out. But, I mean, anything else on this series that you have? Because, like, compared to the Vegas series, which, we already knew was over, we don't have a lot of talking points on this one in
No, it's
comparison.
just like, what do you think? Either of these teams against Vegas, like, who do you like? Who do you think has the better shot? Tampa?
Tampa. Like, I just don't see how
You're rooting
with
for the Tampa Bay
uh
Rangers? Yeah, that's
what?
what I call them because they have McDonough, Strawman,
Oh,
Girardi,
oh,
Miller.
I was starting to put like the Tampa Bay
No.
Rays and something together. Um no, but Tampa's got more depth than Washington does. And I think when it comes to scoring chances, then they have an ability to have those goals come from third and fourth, and sometimes even fourth line players. That like Washington, it's like the first two lines is probably most of
That
their
is their production.
production.
I don't think it comes past like
Yeah,
sometimes third line, but I don't think it goes down.
right. So like with Vegas playing such a strong defensive postseason as they have overall, I don't know that the Capitals, if they get to the final, can penetrate through that
Yeah, but
defensive
I mean,
wall.
if you look at a team like Winnipeg, right? I think they play similarly to Tampa, in which they play a speed-oriented game, and Vegas, at least Fleury, has shown that he can keep up with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still give it to Vegas, or not Vegas, Tampa.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
just
think
me.
I think the series would be better if it was Tampa, but we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
I think Vegas is gonna
it
win.
should be. Yeah, yeah. Kudos to you. You had that one. I don't know what I was doing thinking about Boston.
I think both of us were thinking
Damn
Boston would
Beantown
get to the
dumbasses.
final, though, right? I'm pretty sure I picked him.
I think you had
No,
Nashville.
you had Nashville. Nashville's on the West.
Okay, you know what, Sean? This isn't U.S. history. This is the National
Yeah,
Hockey League.
Nashville's in the Western Conference. That's why it's not U.S. history.
No, the Nationals are in the NL East.
Oh my god.
Who's on third?
What's on second?
Beer.
I don't know
I
on
don't know.
first, dude.
Well, then, how about we just drink?
Go ahead.
Okay. Glad we got that cleared up.
All right, well, because I think that's what we got
Ooh.
to say about NHL.
A little puck talk, yeah. And then we get to the third most interesting sport behind my kickball misery in the NHL. Obviously, NHL number one, kickball misery number two, NBA number three. Yeah, so I just want to take a second to say, why do we not have close games? Like, again, we sit here and be like, oh, this series could be really good. It could be very entertaining if you get close games, or if you get like a series that goes deep enough. And it's like, dude, I did the math. The closest game on either series, East or West, was a 13
Yep,
point game.
I saw that.
And yeah, and the second closest game after that was
20.
they were 20 plus, or I think it was like 21 points. 21 points or higher, the margin of victory.
That sucks.
This is the conference finals. Like, the weak teams have been eliminated by now in theory, and this is what we're given. We're dealing with just a big piece, or a big plate full of crap. Like, this is not entertaining television. I don't understand how you guys can market a sport like this. Like, oh, it could be anybody's series. Well, that may be true, but by the end of the third quarter, I know who won. So, like, why did I show up for, like, the whole thing then? Like, it would be hard to get me to purchase tickets for a team that was going to lose by 25.
Yeah,
That's
but
just
I
me.
mean, to be fair, right? Like, what, the Celtics won game 1 and 2 by some ungodly margin, like
Mm-hmm.
30 points or
Yeah.
so, and
Yeah.
then Cavs won game 3 by 30 points or so.
Yeah, which I don't understand how that happens. Like we just said with hockey, like home ice, home court advantage is now what it was 10 years ago, and that can be said of all sports except for maybe football. In football, you put like 60,000 fans in there. It's a bit different compared to like 10,000 in an arena and 60,000 in a football stadium. Uh, and when it's just like, surrounded
But
and
also, yeah,
raining
like,
down, and you have weather elements to
yeah,
go
so
with
they
it
have
too.
weather, and most other sports are indoor aside from, what, soccer, but, we,
Yeah, and soccer, if we get on the whole international landscape thing, that's a whole different thing in itself. Um,
yes.
but
But
like,
anyway,
home court advantage doesn't mean as much as it maybe would have 10
as
years ago.
like,
So I don't understand how you can be like, absolutely dominate the Cavaliers in games 1 and 2, then turn around and absolutely get smacked down and, like nose into the ground and absolutely bullied in game 3. Like, you have to know that the Cavs are running through LeBron, and really there's not a lot of options for the Cavs either way. Like, win or lose, you know who the ball's going through, and what did you just let down your guard? Like, how did you give up 30 more points than you scored?
I can't help you there, but they did.
Yeah, yeah
And
I just
that's
don't
just
get
like my
it.
pet peeve with basketball. Like, sure, I mean, obviously people are gonna get blown out, right? There's nothing you can do about that. But
Oh,
when it's
yeah, it can be a little more
constant,
infrequently, but
there's a
yeah,
problem.
yeah. It's like, look, I get that the Warriors are good, and like, but the Rockets, they were supposed to. This was finally supposed to be the year that they had a team that could compete and take down the Warriors, because like the Warriors, they do this type of scoring anyway, but this was supposed to be the year that the Rockets could compete with that. They just lost their game last night, 126-85.
That's not.
Like they lost by like 41 points.
Hmm.
So this is the conference finals. What, did you just not show up? Like, and you can't say that they didn't show up because 85 points, ideally would be enough to keep you in
But it's
competition for a game. But to give up 126
it's Golden
points,
State though. You
like,
have to expect. I expect like Golden State to get in the 90s, 100 point.
yeah, and that's fine. But again, this was supposed to be the Houston team that was supposed to be able to uh, stay in its stride for stride with what Golden State does. And well, if the Houston Rockets were a horse, they obviously missed a few strides. Like about 40 minutes worth, I would guess. Like, that's just, how do you lose by 41 in the
I mean,
NBA
don't
playoffs?
you? Isn't there a stat like the plus minus of the players were like a difference of
Yeah,
30?
I looked into that today. Yeah, so every plus in game 3 last night for the Warriors 41-point win, the plus minus was every player on the Warriors had a plus of at least 20. Uh and every Rockets player was negative 12. So that means that not a single Rockets player, even if he was on the court for 3 minutes, did better than the person that he was guarding for 3 minutes.
Well,
Like, if he put up 3 points, he gave up 18. Something like that. Or, like, not, you know, like, accurate, but, like, you get the concept. Is like, they, I guess, constructed this team that doesn't play defense, which kind of you need against Golden State to win. just a thought. It's like, this would have been a game that I would have fallen asleep to.
Yeah.
It really would have been. It's not that the East has been a lot better, but like, and I say this with confidence in the Western Conference, Houston's won all their games. Like, you had a nice run. You tied the series 1-1. You looked like,
and then you got blown out by 41.
And yeah, and I've had friends who are like, oh, it's different for Houston this year. It's different. I was like, dude, you gotta understand, this is the same thing. Like, the NBA has been this predictable for 5 years. If you really think it's changing now, no, it's not. Like, it's gonna take one of the bigger players leaving Golden State before it can get that to that that kind of scope where other teams have chances again. Like, LeBron will leave, and then a new team will make the finals because LeBron will have been on that new team. But this is it for the NBA. This is like, you have your pinnacle and your bona fide all-stars who always get to the finals, and you'll have the other all-stars and other players who are really good but just will never get anywhere close.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like right now the Boston and Cleveland game is going on, and with like 5.5 minutes left in the second, Cleveland's up by 15. So
yep. Sounds about right. I'm surprised it's not by more, to be honest.
Give it to halftime, it'll be like 20-some.
Yeah, I mean, refs playing with blindfolds on, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not watching the game, so I can't tell you.
Well, right until proven wrong.
Isn't that the opposite of how the America is supposed to work?
I said right until proven wrong, not innocent until proven guilty.
Hey. But aren't you declaring the refs guilty before?
No, I'm just hypothesizing.
Oh, okay.
Taking a swing in the dark here.
All right.
Absolute swing in the dark. I guarantee you I'm wrong. But like, in the purpose of giving predictions, that's my prediction.
Fair enough.
Just like how I predict that Houston won all their games already.
I mean, I think it is pretty demoralizing once you lose by 41 in the Eastern or the Western Conference Finals, is it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a regular season,
it's whatever.
Like,
you have 80 some other of those, right?
Well, yeah, and like if you lose by that much, it's kind of like, okay, we can get back from this. Is like even you could lose by 13 in the next game and be like, okay, well at least it wasn't 41, and like have the building blocks to improve over time. In the playoffs, you don't get that. So they'll probably lose by like 20 some in the next game, and they'll be down 3-1, and then they'll play a pretty close game 5, and they'll lose that too. Like they'll lose it by like
because
they
there are so many adjustments you have to make.
I was gonna say by 6. Yeah, I was gonna say that they lose by 6, but history has proven that that's just not the case.
I mean, because once you lose by 41, there's so many adjustments as a team that you'll probably have to make that there's no way you're gonna make them all in time to turn around the series.
Well, like we talked about the plus minus. I mean, I don't know, the lone adjustment. I think the big one is play defense. Like, it's pretty obvious to say that they did a bad job of that from every aspect of what defense is in the NBA. If every single player couldn't keep the guy in front of him and like contest shots, because like if Golden State played that strong, then Houston just didn't try.
Yeah,
they didn't, and they're a team that's offense based anyways. Like, I guess Chris Paul is somewhat okay on defense. James Harden, not going to play defense. Eric Gordon, not going to play defense. It's like they have a lot of guys who are like, they'll set up in the corner and shoot lights out threes, and they're like great inside presences, and you'll get the putback dunks and stuff. But from a defensive standpoint, it's like none of the guys on that roster are there.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And asking them to play defense is just gonna, it'll be a nice attempt when they're about to lose their final game of the year, but it's not going to stop them from losing their final game of the year.
Hey, I mean, I see Golden State's gonna make it out of that series. So I mean, the only series then we then have hope for is what Celtics Cavs, and that series is
Yeah,
literally acting like what Tampa Washington right now, in which one team, well, in the opposite way of they're at home.
except
Yeah, they
they
win
win
at
at
home,
home.
but they lose miserably away. So that's what it's looking
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yep. That's a lot of fun, but at least, hey, if the Cavs win tonight, we'll actually have a 6-game series in the NBA playoffs this year. It's just a crazy concept that they could even go that far. Dare I say, and I say dare with extreme exaggeration, Game 7, because it probably will not get to that point.
Hey, we can only hope. Well, I don't know if I hope for an
Oh,
NBA Game 7.
I'm really not hoping for another NBA game if they're all going to be like this.
Hey.
I honestly feel like, and I don't know if I've said this before in when we've recorded shows, but like when it comes to free agency, they should have ways to like say, okay, if you want to leave the team that you're on, you have to go to a team that didn't make the playoffs,
But that
and you have to get rid of the super team thing. If you want to create a competitive atmosphere across the board,
I mean,
you gotta get rid
aren't
of
they
super teams.
I mean,
And they should have never enabled them
don't
anyway.
they only have a soft salary cap, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, the way that the NHL combats super teams is the hard cap.
Yeah. But the thing about the NBA is it from the commissioner down, it's a players' league.
Yeah. And I mean, didn't they
Not to say that it shouldn't be to some extent, but you can't have the players
but didn't
control
they
everything that
try to
happens.
combat
Because
super
then this
teams
is what
by limiting the number of max contracts a team can have?
I'm not sure about that, because I think one of the things is just max deals are different from team to team. Like if you're the Knicks and a player that is at the end of his contract and becomes a free agent, you can offer one more year and like X more $1 million in your max deal than say San Antonio's max deal can be, because I think you can offer as the team that had the player like a 6-year deal, and the other cities or teams can only offer a 5-year deal. So like there's some factors they're not like restraining enough to keep guys with their teams, which is another one of the problems. But like I don't know. I think that the NBA just needs to get rid of super teams.
Yeah, but how are they going to do that when the league
Like
is basically all player controlled, yeah?
I don't know. I feel like this stems back to the lockout that happened. Like I don't know. You'd probably have to look back and see who bent over backwards more, the Players Association or the league, and you'd probably say it was the league because they just were losing money by not having that season. And this is probably one of the things that happened because, like, 2013, you had the one super team with LeBron in Miami.
LeBron, Wade, Bosch.
But, yeah. But, like, that was it. You didn't have these other super teams yet. So, it's just, it was enabling. And now you can't enable to the point where it's gotten to and not have it be lopsided.
Yeah.
So, this is what we're dealt with. And by the way, the
Yeah,
Capitals
I saw.
scored. Who scored, Ovi?
I don't know who scored, but I saw the score tick. The score was TJ Oshie from Backstrom and Kuznetsov on the power play.
Yeah. American hero, except not really because he plays for the Capitals.
Hey.
Amen. But yeah, that's, so that's been my weekly NBA rant. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I mean, I
Could
agree
really
that
just keep that
if
one
they
going.
want competitiveness in the NBA, they have to figure out how to minimize
Yeah,
super
they
teams.
got to
I mean,
regroup.
there's no getting rid of like teams being stronger than the other, but there has to be ways to limiting, like, you can't just have two teams, which I know are at least going to be in the final four, if not the one of the last two teams in the league at the end of the playoffs.
Yep, gotta have a little change up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've got. Oh, so did you hear about the Robinson Cano
No, I
suspension?
did not.
So apparently, years are he Robinson Cano, Seattle Mariners. Uh, I don't think it was full-fledged PEDs. So like he got an 80-game suspension, but it was still like a banned substance or something. Um, and all of a sudden, it's like half of the people who heard this news were like not surprised, and half were surprised because like Cano, he signed with the Mariners like 4 years ago, something like that. And one of the reasons that the Yankees didn't like offer all the money in the world that the Mariners did is because they thought like he was eventually going to get caught for PEDs. But then the other side of the people who heard the news were like, "Oh, he was like going to be clean his whole career. There was no way that he was ever involved
I mean,
with this."
I looked it up
wild.
really quickly, and it was like the first two things were like, A-Rod, it's going to be a really long road back for Cano, or the second headline was, Teixeira throws Cano under the bus. And I'm like, well.
Yeah, it's been headlines either way, from one extreme to the other. But the weird thing was like the Yankees were like, yeah, we were in front of this a few years ago. That's why we didn't want to give him all that money. And then it's like, well, but like, how can you be surprised that like, if the Yankees were like, go somewhere else if you want all that. I don't know. It's just absolutely, it's funny, and I have no idea what to make of that. Like, people are saying like, oh, Cano, like this was like, Hall of Fame or not, like he may not get into Cooperstown because of this.
I mean, was he getting into Cooperstown anyway?
Like, I mean, I guess he had a chance. I didn't really think that he was deemed to be like
that good
in Cooperstown. Yeah, like it's not like he took the Mariners to a World Series or anything. Granted, baseball is a sport where you only have a certain impact because of how the rosters are and how the game is. But like, Robinson Cano probably hasn't done enough to get, even if he was clean, probably hadn't been anywhere near enough to get into the Hall of Fame anyway. And it's like, you got Jose Canseco and Barry Bonds. They're not in the Hall of Fame, but these are the guys that put up like huge numbers and are considered outside of the PEDs to be Hall of Fame worthy. And Cano's not.
Nah, I agree. I don't think he's on that level. I don't think he was on that level.
Yeah, it's just the dramatic reaction to it, which was absolutely wild. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. That and apparently the LA Angels signed a pitcher who bats really well, and they play him as the DH on days that he doesn't pitch, which, I mean, I guess that works. I don't really understand.
Hey, I mean, I think he's been doing pretty well, right?
Yeah, but I picked up a Sports Illustrated, and they're like, oh, he's the next Babe Ruth. I'm like, are you kidding me?
He's been in the league for like 50, 60, 70 games at this point.
Yeah, like 50 games. And we're comparing him to the Babe who played like 38 years in the pros. Like, let's get real here. Like, Also, the Babe, they played in an era where the deep ball probably wasn't happening as much
Yeah.
as it is now. So, like, you can't be like, oh, he's only giving up this many home runs, and the Babe gave up more. It was like, well, good for him, but, like, it's not going to last. The AL is a hitter-friendly league. The NL is where the pitchers dominate. So.
I mean, we'll see when he, like, actually plays in the AL parks, right? Because that's the other thing. Like, the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL are the two places where I think home field matters the most. Right? Because the parks are so different.
Yeah, and the dimensions. Yeah. Put that Ohtani dude, I don't know his first name, but Shohei Ohtani. Make him start 2 games in Yankee Stadium. I bet like he gives up
I bet you
runs.
he gets lit up at least one of those games.
Yeah, because Yankee Stadium is short porch all around.
So, I mean,
it's
we'll see. But, I mean, to be fair, for his first season in the MLB after coming from overseas, I think he's been doing pretty well.
Pretty good.
Now that I've actually started to watch the games somewhat.
I mean, I've been watching some games too because, like, beyond belief that the Pirates are any good. They were in first place last week, and then they dropped like 3 games. I was like, well,
I mean, they could be the Mets.
Furthest into. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they were in first place further into the season than I ever thought that they would be anywhere near. So, I would have thought outside of opening week they would have had 0 chance at first place, and well, they're only they're proving me wrong.
Yeah.
For now, because I still believe it'll go downhill. Oh wow, only a 15-point game at the end of the second quarter.
So at halftime, wow.
Yeah. 68 points is an outrageous amount of points to be scored in the first half of a basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to expect more in the second half anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. Put your flag at half-mast for the NBA. Because it's over.
So, I mean, there you go. We started our MLB talk, which will probably be making a rise soon.
Yo, when fantasy football season comes around, this show's going to get good. Like, fantasy football is where it's at for sports talk, so I think we should do some stuff.
Oh, we definitely will.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, I'm looking
yeah.
forward to that. All right, man. You got anything?
No, I think, I'm glad we started bringing up the baseball and looking forward to covering it some more as the season finally reaches June, where the good baseball starts.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we thank you again for listening to the show, and I hope you enjoy. Share with friends, rate it, and we'll catch you next week. See ya.